Hello and welcome to this special episode of History Between the Lines. This episode I'm actually talking from the Combined Military Services Museum in the town of Malden in the English county of Essex, and I'm here to talk about the Covert Operations vest from around the 1970s that was used by British security forces in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So this waistcoat transmitter was designed to be worn invisibly beneath clothing, and it was used to listen in on conversations in the vicinity of the wearer. So by the early 1970s, the Troubles, the conflict in Northern Ireland, had started. In response to this, the British government sent in troops to crush the Irish Republican Army, or IRA. As part of this campaign, the British military planned and carried out covert operations in Northern Ireland to destroy the IRA. Such operations included the use of this listening rig, which an undercover British agent or special forces soldier would wear under their clothing and then go to pubs, inns and other areas known to have a strong IRA presence and then try to listen in on important conversations happening near them. Such conversations could be about who were active members of the IRA, what their next actions would be, where they kept their weapons and equipment, and whether or not they had any spies amongst the British security forces. The listening rig the agent was wearing would record these conversations, and the British would then evaluate and act on the intelligence gleaned from these recordings. So to look at the technical features on this listening rig, the vest itself is black in colour and is made of a very thin material, making it quite easy to put it on and off quickly, and it made it quite easy to put this on under your clothing and allow it not to be very visible or bulky under your clothes to avoid detection. At the front of the vest are two large pockets. The one on the right hand side houses the transmitter itself with all of its wires running throughout the rest of the waistcoat. And here is the device used to control the listening rig operated by its wearer. And it's small enough to be concealed on their person. The dial on the side switches it on and off. These two buttons control the volume, and the button above is for tone. This rig could also filter out background noises so that even distant conversations could be listened to. I think it would have taken a certain kind of person to wear this rig and go into pubs, meeting halls and other places where IRA operations were being discussed and use this equipment to listen in on these conversations, as the level of risk to the wearer was huge. I cannot think of a more blatant and obvious thing to be in someone's possession which tells everyone that they're a British agent if they were found out to be wearing this. And the wearer at that moment would be in the vicinity of IRA members or sympathisers when their clothing was lifted up and they saw this rig. In such a scenario, the wearer would then have been in serious danger. I also think that this device shows how much time, money and resources the British government and military put into their counterinsurgency campaign in Northern Ireland from the late 1960s to the 1990s, as this rig in 1970 was a state-of-the-art piece of equipment, and therefore it would have been very expensive and it would have required much technical expertise to make and operate it. With its very compact concealable features and ability to pick up even distant conversations, which took intelligence gathering to another level. Therefore, with such high-tech equipment during that period, it highlights how seriously and relentlessly the British waged the conflict in Northern Ireland, especially as these listening rigs were part of a wider array of covert operations launched by British counterinsurgency forces, which included the spread of propaganda and the kidnapping of suspects. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of History Between the Lines. This listening rig is but one item in the possession of the Combined Services Military Museum. It has weapons and other military artefacts from around 1800 BC all the way through to the 21st century conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. It is such a fantastic museum. I highly recommend it for everyone to visit. Again, it's in the town of Malden in the English county of Essex. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of History Between the Lines. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.